Good afternoon and welcome back. This is US Home Talk. We are your go-to real estate podcast. Whether you guys are buying, selling, investing, or simply wanting to learn more about real estate, we got your back. We are your hosts, Marcus Walgrave with the South Dakota Home Team powered by Hague Realtors, Mike Overson with Luminate Bank, and our exceptional producer, Evan Little. Anything and everything real estate. Don't forget to send us your real estate questions to our real estate hotline at 612-234-7585. How's it going, Mike?
It's going pretty well. Are you staying cool down there in beautiful Sioux Falls, South Dakota?
Hey, it's toasty. You know, it's definitely warm. I heard there might be some heat records here in the upcoming days, so that's always kind of interesting to hear that. Pretty toasty up there in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, same here. Mid-90s, right? That's where you guys are at?
Yeah. We've been, I think yesterday we were mid-90s. I think we're going to be there somewhere right around there today. And yes, too hot. Too hot.
We have people probably from Texas and Florida listening to us. Like, you guys are at 94, 95, and you're complaining, you big babies, right? Or even Arizona. I tell you what, though, it's the humidity up here. Now, Florida knows what we're talking about when it comes to this. Florida knows. The humidity that comes with our heat up here is no joke. It's got to add 10 to 12, 13 degrees to what the field looks like. And it's like, I would rather take 110 dry heat than 95 and wet. Yeah, I mean, I agree.
There is the heat index for a reason, right? A couple years ago, I was in Las Vegas during like a heat wave that they had, and I think that when we were down there, we were down there for maybe 2 or 3 days, and it was like 112, 113, and then like that's hot. I mean, your skin, your skin tells you like, hey, you probably shouldn't be outside of the sun. But it was dry. I mean, to that exact point, it's like if you could get in the shade, get some air movement, it was like tolerable. But I mean, there's been a couple of nights here just in the last week or so where, you get a little bit past sunset, and the concrete looks like it got rained on. It's starting to sweat that hard. So, It's toasty. Heat dome, right? Is that what they're saying? We're in a heat dome?
We're in a heat dome. Sure. Sounds right to me.
Yeah, right. Sounds about right. Sounds fair. So, we're going to have a great... Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Now that you bring the Vegas thing up, now that you bring that up, right? I mean, what a great place to put casinos, because who's going to be outside in 113-degree weather, right? It sounds to me like if you're out in Vegas and you walk outside and it's that hot, right? Your skin is telling you better go in and gamble.
You got
to get inside, right?
Eat a buffet.
Yeah, eat a
buffet, and maybe at the later part of the day when the sun starts setting, then you can kind of come out and enjoy it. So, but no, it's definitely warm. We're definitely in summertime up here in the Midwest. Mike, been an exceptional mortgage banker over up in the Twin Cities area for a number of years. Mike, what's it been, like 30, 40 years?
Oh, yeah. I think 60. No.
60.
June of 04.
Years?
June of 04. So what is that, 22 years?
Yeah,
22 years.
Yep. I've been a full-time realtor in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota market since the beginning of 2014. And this is US Home Talk. We try to cover everything that we can that we think that you guys would find valuable or interesting or important on our show. And today we're going to be talking about market updates. We are in the month of July, and so we got 6 months down and we got 6 months to go. And we're going to just kind of cover some things that we're seeing statistically, but then also, like we were kind of talking about earlier in the day about, what we're seeing with boots on the ground, right? I mean, you can see a stat and you can kind of come up with an explanation of why that stat looks like it does. But until you are out there, living it and breathing it, sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher what's really going on. So hopefully we can kind of cover some of that stuff. I'm going to be talking about some stats that we see down here in the Sioux Falls area. We refer to our region as the Sioux Empire. It's the Sioux Falls and greater area, and then Mike, your guys' main market is the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the Metro. So see if maybe we have some similarities in stats, or if we got anything that's vastly different. Usually our numbers are pretty similar.
Yeah, because we're all both in the Midwest, right?
Yep.
And they seem to track, pretty consistently with each other. And the good thing about the Sioux Falls market and the Minneapolis area market here, we don't see the wild swings that Florida markets do, Arizona markets do. We don't get those swings. Florida's 1 year you can be up 30%, one next year down 30%. We
Yeah.
just don't see those swings up here like that. So it is different in different parts of the country. Just know that we live and breathe here up here in the upper Midwest. We know this market like the back of our hand. Your individual market could very well be different.
Yeah, and we've talked about that, just how important it is to get local information when you're ready to do a real estate transaction. You can't pull maybe a national topic that's being discussed and say, yep, that's what's going on in my market. There's like markets within markets, right? There's subdivisions, within a city that are going to be significantly hotter or colder than the other one. So super important that you align yourself with the right type of experts, and we can help you with that. Yes, Mike and my brother Jason, they're up in the Twin Cities area. I'm down here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but we have an incredible network, and we can find the top tier realtors that are in your market. Mike, you guys service what's it, like 47, 48 states. So
we do 52 states now, Marcus.
Hey,
I realize
how'd you get the?
That's how good we are. I realize
that is good.
There's only
Is
50
Greenland?
states.
You guys
do 52 states. That's how good we are. No, we do all 50 states now. So yeah, I can help you in any state. I got plenty of clients that are moving. I do a ton in Florida because we do have a bunch of snowbirds that go to Florida. I do a fair amount in Arizona because, again, snowbirds in Arizona. Got a client now that just got a new job. He's moving out to Oregon, out to Portland. So I get to help them again with their loan out there. So I mean, anywhere you want to move to in the 50 state continental U.S., I can help you.
You guys can find our information on our website, ushometalk.com. Again, if you guys got any questions, feel free to give us a call or shoot us a text on our hotline, 612-234-7585. I'm going to just touch on some of our stats here. One that we've always talked about on our show quite often is this idea of like, hey, the market's going to turn. The prices of the homes are going to come down. I'm going to wait. I'm going to get this deal in 6 months from today or a year from today. And we've been saying it for quite some time that it's just not the case. Standing inventory, specifically to the existing inventory, meaning a home that has already been built and is being occupied, an existing home, that inventory is low. Yeah, that inventory is low. When we kind of look into our market here in the Sioux Empire, our inventory of homes for sale in the month of June of last year, we were at 2,200. Now, just to kind of put it in reference, the Sioux Falls and greater area, we're about 300,000 people. And so just to kind of put that as a reference to how large your city is or how small it is. And so, but then June of 2026, we're down 30%, Mike. We're at 1,531 homes for sale. Okay. So we lost 30% inventory when you're comparing June of this year to June of last year. So in that situation I was telling you about, about the prices of a home, right? If the inventory is down, demand is high. Rates have been stable. I would say that's a fair thing to say. And so when rates have been stable, buyers have been wanting to buy for many years now. And it's kind of being built up, pent up energy to wanting to buy homes. And, our inventory is down. So supply and demand plays into this, and our median sale price is up. And that's kind of what we're seeing in our market.
Yep. So I'm surprised that you're down that much in inventory.
Yeah.
We're actually up a little bit in inventory up here. So when I talk about the Twin Cities market, there's a 13 county metro area that we typically look at. That's Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the surrounding areas. Evan, what if we look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, surrounding areas? What are we at? 2 million, maybe population wise.
It's closer to three, actually.
Closer to 3 in this 13 county metro area. So it gives you an idea of the size that we're talking about here. In June of 2025, we had 6,483 homes on the market. Or excuse me, new listings. This June, we had 7,127 new listings coming up. So
Yeah.
the actual homes on the market last June, we had 10,131 homes for sale in June of last year. Right now, we got 10,601 homes for sale this June. Right. So we're up a little bit. We're up 4% as far as inventory goes. But median sale price, if we look at last June up here in the Twin Cities area, the median sale price last June was 405,850. This June it was 414,718. So that's an increase of 2.2% in your median sale price.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to the point, right? Like you guys have done a better job of maintaining inventory. And if you look at like our median sale price, we went from 324,900 to 339,900, which is an increase of 4.6%. So
Yep.
not quite twice of 2x your guys' median sale price increase. But when you have less inventory out there, buyers are willing to spend a little bit more, to get their hands on those homes. And so I've always said this, that's interesting about our market here in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area. Again, we're covering about 300,000 people in terms of population. And, so you guys are 3 million, right? So we're 1/10 the size of you guys in terms of population. But what we saw in like the 2020s, we don't have a big national builder in our market, not one. And so, what we saw like in the early 2020s, yeah, right? And what we saw in the early 2020s was that, our high volume builders that we have in our market, they saw this and they were like, you know what? We're getting a lot of direct calls. Buyers are calling us direct and saying, hey, what do you guys have? What do you have going on? The data that I'm talking about, and same with Mike, they're coming from the multiple listing service data. This isn't covering all housing transactions that transpire in a year. For example, and what I'm alluding to here is that if a builder were to build a home and that builder sold directly to the consumer, well, that transaction is not going to be represented on the MLS because it was done off of the MLS, the multiple listing service. So in this scenario that I'm kind of explaining is that in our market, I would suspect that if I did a really deep dive into it, our new construction inventory is probably down, and that's one of the big reflections of why our inventory is down, because the builders are probably able to just sell directly to the consumer.
Yep. Yeah, those will show up on the county records. All transactions show up on the county records, but not in the MLS system that Marcus is talking about, because those deals never hit the MLS. That home was never listed on that open market on the MLS, and so therefore that data doesn't go into the MLS data. It's recorded at the county. So if you really want to get into it, you're gonna have to do some research down at the county and look at all that stuff there. But yeah, that's interesting. I guess I didn't realize you guys didn't have any big national builders. So there's no Lennar, there's no DR Horton. There's nothing like that.
No, nothing like that.
Interesting.
It's and maybe the market isn't quite big enough for that yet. For it to be, for it to make sense for one of those entities to come in and start developing. And so, and when we talked about our prices, Mike, I mean, I think you said you guys are about 414 now, and we're 340. Just trying to do the math quick in my head. I mean, that's definitely. Right around that 20% less in terms of a median. So, and that's median, or was that average?
That was median.
Yeah, median. Yep. So, if you're a statistician out there, median is a little bit more desirable of a statistic when you look at things like this, because it, in a sense, it kind of removes the outliers, right? Like we have a growing luxury market. I shared this about a half year ago. There's a colleague down here. She has been in real estate for a number of years, and that's kind of like her expertise is the luxury market. And she put a property out on the market. I think this is about 3 years ago, maybe 4. And it was for like $3 million. It was like the first multi-million-dollar home that went to the MLS. Yes, there had been sales that have happened off market with those type of high-end homes, but this is the first one that went to the market, and I had the opportunity to show it. Had a buyer that was looking for it, a property like that, and had the conversation with her, and she said, "Marcus, I guarantee you, now that I've put this property on the market, you're going to see a lot of high-end homes hitting the market." And boy, was she right. We definitely saw that take off in our market. It's kind of cool. I think it was just, I'm trying to remember here where we're at, but I shared a stat worth how many multi-million-dollar homes that we have on the market a couple weeks ago, and it caught Jason off surprise. I think he was a little surprised to kind of hear how many we had. So like right now we have 15 homes that are over $2 million that are pending.
Wow.
And
Nice.
if you look at like the inventory, we have an additional 16 that are for sale. So there was over 30, $2 million plus homes that were for sale in our market. And that just didn't exist 3 years ago. So
Right.
we're definitely seeing like that being a new trend here in the Sioux Falls market.
Well, here's another thing to keep in mind too. Sioux Falls is a fast growing community. I looked up population growth rate of Sioux Falls versus the population growth rate of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Take a guess at what the Google says about the Sioux Falls growth rate, population wise.
Well, I usually keep my finger on the pulse on this, and historically we're at like 2.5% increase annually, and we've stayed consistent. I think in 2020 and 2021 we saw a big spike during those 2 years, but I mean we're usually right around like 2.5 to 3%. So I would assume that's what Google said.
Yep, the Google says 2.3.
Yeah, 2.3. Yep.
Yep, pretty close. Now, what do you think about the Minneapolis-St. Paul area?
I would guess that is either flat or maybe even a loss.
0.8%.
Yeah, 0.8.
So you guys
Yeah,
are at
so
basically 2.4 with 0.8. So you guys are basically 3 times, right? Your growth
Yeah.
rate is 3 times of what we have up here, which would make sense with your lower inventory levels. You got more people moving to Sioux Falls than you do up here, right? Percentage wise. And so keeping up with that demand, it's going to be tougher.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's to where a lot of people who live in the Sioux Falls area, they really like it here. They do want to sell, but they're not moving. They're not moving out, and so that kind of adds to more of that competition. Even the people who are here, they have that pre-existing home that everybody wants, but they can't get their hands on it because, they're not finding what they want to buy either. So, we're there's still a lot going on. This year has been odd. I don't know, like for you up there, Mike, but for us down here in the Sioux Falls, it was like January and February. It was one of the busiest January and Februaries, that I had seen in our market. And then like out of nowhere, by the end of like March into April, it was like oddly quiet. The weather was beautiful. It was very stable. Everything was seemed to be pretty stable. Rates did move up a little bit with the Iran war, and maybe that was the reason. And then like out of nowhere, May and the first part of June, it was super hot again. And when we look at like our pending sales, when we compare our pending sales from June of this year to June of last year, we're up almost 76%.
Wow.
So it kind of reflects like this, the graph is similar, the ebbs and flows of buyer activity, but they're just more extreme. It was either they're like, super busy, and then when it gets quiet, it was like super quiet. So it's been very, I guess volatile in terms of like trying to forecast what everybody's doing. It can turn on super hot in a matter of a couple weeks, and it can cool off in a couple weeks as well.
Yeah, our pending sales from last year through this year, we're up 11.3%. And you
Yeah.
guys are up, what, 70 something, 76%?
Yeah. The month of June,
The
but
month of
year
June,
to date
yes.
we're up. Year to date we're up 31%.
Up 31%.
So
Okay, so
yep.
our
So
month of
comparing
June.
the entire year compared to last year, we're up 31%.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so June to June, last year to this year for us, we're up 11.3%. But if we look at year to date, we are dead even. 21,514 last year, 21,509 this year. Like almost dead even, right? Which is crazy
Yeah.
with yet 21,500 sales. I mean, we're only five off from each other. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
dead even
interesting.
year to date.
And your standing inventory was pretty similar from 1 year to the next. So
Right.
and obviously when the homes are going under contract and they're selling, that affects inventory, right? So if there's a little bit more activity, buyer activity that we're seeing down here, that's obviously going to put a dent into our existing homes that are for sale, and our builders can only build so fast. They've had a great calendar year for weather, and they're doing a phenomenal job. They just finished up with the spring parade in the month of May, and kind of tying up a lot of those things. So, and I'm already starting to get the emails saying, hey, fall parade's coming up. It's crazy to say, right, Mike?
Right.
It's like we're in the middle of July and fall parade's going to be like in 6 weeks from now or 7 weeks from now. And, kids are going to go back to school. So super busy. One thing that I'd like to say, when we look at like our markets, and maybe it's get your thoughts on this too, Mike, but when we're looking at the second half of 2026, I really think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see if rates are improving, at the later part of the year, the buyers aren't going to be taking this position of be like, hey, well, it's winter time and I'm going to slow it down a little bit. We're going to just kind of wait till spring. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think if rates, improve, we could see possibly our busiest time of year may not happen until, Q3 or Q4.
I agree. What I think is going to happen this fall with interest rates is that Trump has a card he's got to play, right? Earlier this year, he said he's got $200 billion of federal money that he wants to be able to pump into the mortgage-backed securities market. Hasn't said when that's going to happen yet, but he's said he's got this basically teed up and ready to go. So what I think is going to happen is he's going to get about 45 to 60 days from the midterm elections. He's going to announce that he's going to have the federal government start buying mortgage-backed securities. Pumping that type of money into the mortgage-backed securities market is going to drop interest rates. And if it happens, I think we see interest rates between 5 and 5.5%. Now, if we see interest rates in September, October, 5 to 5.5%, we're going to have spring market type of activity in the fall and the winter. So November, October, late October, November, and December is going to be gangbusters busy for us, for sure. If that happens, right? We don't know when it's going to happen. He's got that card to play. We don't know when it's going to happen, but I think if it would make sense that if he's trying to get votes, right, and he can drop mortgage interest rates, right before midterm elections, like that's probably going to be the most effective time for him to be able to do that. So that's why I think that's going to happen this fall. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, he's got that, and it seemed like the Iran war was close to getting resolved, a week ago, and maybe that's it. Yeah, right. I mean, he kind of sits on his his trump card and holds off that until spring, where they typically do kind of pick up a little bit. The rates do, and just says, hey, let's make sure we get the Iran war figured out by the start of Q4. Get everybody excited, bring rates down a little bit, and then usually historically, rates are a little bit more attractive in the months of January and February. And so it'll be interesting. I think, moving forward, we're probably looking at about 18 months of a lot of attractive, consistent or improved mortgage rates, and the buyers aren't going anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere. They're just waiting. They're waiting either for the house to get listed that they want to buy, or just when the time's right for them to make a move on it. And and they're not going to wait until spring of 2027 to make it happen. They're sitting there. They're ready to rock and roll, whether that's tomorrow, next month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. They're going to be there and they're going to be chomping at the bit. So that's what we're seeing here in the Sioux Falls market and the Twin Cities market. Definitely different in other markets for sure. If you guys are in other markets and you need to get some professional advice, you guys can reach out to us. Find our contact information, ushometalk.com. And either Mike can be able to help you because he's he services 52 states of America, and if it's not in the Twin Cities or the Sioux Falls area, we can find you a phenomenal real estate realtor in your market too. So. Mike, anything else you guys got going on up there? Anything that's really jumping out that's odd? I mean, our days on market are pretty consistent with what they were last year. I would say the percent of original price received, it was coming down, meaning that buyers were able to put together a deal that was a little bit more favorable in their eyes off of the original list price. They're able to negotiate it down a little bit. But like year to date, I mean, we're just a 0.2% less than where we were last year, 97.3%. None of our stats are really crazy other than the pending sales and our inventory. Everything else looks pretty good.
Yep. One thing I'll mention, Tale of Two Cities, like we said, different markets could be different, right? We look at Edina, Minnesota versus Lakeville, Minnesota, right? They're both suburbs of Minneapolis. They're 20 minutes apart from each other. Similar populations. Edina is 55,000. Lakeville has 65,000, right? If you look at Edina right now, price point of $600,000 to $800,000 homes, there's 45 listings. Okay, 45 listings in that city of 55,000. Now you go to Lakeville, just 20 minutes away, right? There's 200 listings between 600 and 800,000. If you are selling in Edina, you're going to get your list price. You're going to get a good close date. You're going to have favorable terms as a seller. If you are a seller in Lakeville between 600 and 800,000, you are going to see price drops. You are going to see below list price offers come in. There's more competition, right? And that's just 20 minutes away from each other at the same price point of 600, 800,000. So it's just an example of how markets can be different, and working and lining yourself with a top agent that can pull that data, right? Can pull that data and show you, hey, if you're listed at 700,000 in Lakeville, here's the competition you're up against, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you got set realistic expectations, right? With that seller, because now they're hearing, hey, it's a great market to sell. We should be able to get our list price. Everything's rosy. Might be a little different in Lakeville versus Edina.
Yeah. And I mean, you can, take it even to the next step too. I'm sure that there's specific neighborhoods within Edina that are even hotter than that. Or
Right.
vice versa. There might be a subdivision in Lakeville that does have that similar want as Edina does, but it's still within what would appear to be a high inventory selection. So awesome. Always appreciate the information that we see, what we got going on up in the Twin Cities. I like sharing it with the clients that I have down here and letting everybody know that, hey, if you're looking to move up there, move down here, we're going to be able to help you out. So as our show comes to an end here today, we want to thank you all for your time watching our show and for your support of US Home Talk. You can find today's show or any of our past shows on our website, ushometalk.com, or wherever you guys find your podcasts. This is your host, Marcus Walgrave and Mike Overson. Have yourself a blessed week.